Idea Factory International has officially revealed that Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters is officially launching next year here in North America. And today I wanted to provide some context for those who may be new to the franchise or those who may not necessarily know much about this very specific game, everything you need to know going in. And not only that, but for maybe those players who already played the PlayStation or the PC versions of the game which launched earlier this year, what changes you should be expecting here for the Nintendo Switch version, which Idea Factory seems to be treating kind of like the deluxe version, some sort of better version of what they originally launched before. And that is because, of course, earlier in the year, I believe back in January, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC versions of the game launched not necessarily to great reviews. And I believe this is why Idea Factory International is now considering releasing the game, or at the very least has confirmed to be releasing the game later into next year as part of a complete revamp. Some systems will be reworked, and I kind of want to touch upon that, as well as a couple of brand new featuring characters. Both Maho and Anri are going to be exclusive playable characters for the Nintendo Switch version. But when it comes to the story, since there's been plenty of Neptunia games already, while goddesses were out responding to a distress call from a faraway PC continent, Nepgear and the other candidates were sent to investigate an abandoned laboratory. It was there where they found the Ashes goddess, who was trapped in deep sleep inside a capsule. By the time that they awoke, 2 years had already passed. The latest smartphone, our phone, dominated the market. Neptune had been missing since the mission to the PC continent, and in her absence, its goddesses and candidates, planet Neptune was ravaged by a new phenomenon, the trendy outbreaks. Suddenly finding herself robbed of a home and family, Nepgear falls into a deep depression. This story is about finding hope in the midst of despair and a rebirth of the goddesses in their wake of destruction. So while this game does seem to continue the story forward, it's still not being considered a mainline entry. They're considering it a side story, although it's still, again, an extension to the main story that we have seen in previous games, which, interestingly enough, I don't think they have received a new entry, or at the very least a new mainline entry, in several years now. I want to say 6 or 7 years. We've seen a lot of spin-offs, a lot of side stories and things of that nature, but nothing necessarily continuing the story along. And this is about the closest we've gotten so far. Some of the key features that they mention here is, of course, combat being completely revamped with the combo maker. As you make your way around the game industry, you'll encounter a multitude of enemies, and it's time to fight. Employ different combos and chain your attacks together in real time. Take control of the battlefield in a unique tactical action battle system completely revamped. So one of the things that we do know is that some of the skills that didn't necessarily work properly or weren't necessarily synergizing very well in the previous release for PlayStation and PC will be completely reworked. We also know that combat will be sped up in some sequences as well. I believe some of the reviews were complaining that combat felt a little bit sluggish. I know performance, of course, will have to be tied specifically to what they decide to do with the Nintendo Switch, but I'm sure that's also gonna get reworked as well. Another thing that they mention here when it comes to key features you need to be paying attention to is pull off Planet Neptune look to 2 brand new playable characters, and this is, of course, the inclusion of their brand new exclusive characters for the Nintendo Switch, Maho and Anri. Throughout the game, you'll discover fun accessories to deck out and customize all of your party members. Snap a pic in a brand new photo mode and use the manga style feature to exclusively Nintendo Switch release. Play as characters created by 2 legendary game developers, Higurashi and Ryukishi07 and Shanghai Alice from UNS from the start. The Nintendo Switch version also has 2 brand new playable characters, Maho and Anri. So not only do you have this brand new integrated photo mode, which seems to be something that's become relatively popular in many of the newer releases in the Neptunia franchise, you also have something called the manga style feature exclusive to the Switch release, which we don't necessarily have a very good grasp on that just yet. On the trailer, they showcase maybe a second of it, but it does seem to be having some sort of story connection there within. On top of that, of course, you have two brand new exclusive playable characters, Maho and Anri, which were not playable, I believe, in any of the prior entries before. So it is making, some sort of unique gameplay additions there that you didn't have before. Another thing you need to be paying attention to is, do you hear the people chirp? In the wake of the devastation through the trendy phenomenon, the vast majority of the population has turned to their R phone for all manner of daily life, including communication. On your journey, connect to the Chirper social network and take on a variety of side quests put out by those in need and earn special rewards. Now, usually in these type of Neptunia games, game industry is in sort of peril. You also have to raise stocks, I believe it was in previous games, to get likes in another game and stuff like that. So this is their way to kind of help you progress and kind of manage side content. This is something that they've done in previous games already, and this time around it is going to be mainly focused on the actual R phone, what they're calling here itself, as you are going to be taking on social network requests or side content. Go take on this boss, go handle this arena, collect X amount of items, whatever the situation is, through what they're calling this Chirper social network. Lastly, match game 23. On the battlefield, you can have 3 party members all out at once. Match your team members with a partner for stat increases and elemental bonuses, and the stronger the bonds, the better the bonus. This is something that is also a continuation to what the franchise has done before. You can actually tailor your team around the previous sisters kind of games that we have seen before, not where Neptunia is kind of the character, but Neptune is actually the main protagonist. We've seen where all of the other characters kind of support each other in that format. They have a back row, they have a front row, and they kind of become a little bit more supportive to the other one. You can swap them out inside of combat. So in that regard, they are just extending to those previous ideas, and hopefully they're going to come up with some more interesting mechanics this time around, because again, this was another one of those criticisms that we saw originally levied to the PlayStation release, where they people already seen this before. They didn't necessarily see some new changes in that regard, and hopefully in this one they can address some of those criticisms that we saw in the original reviews. And all in all, I'm just happy that they're finally making this game available on the Nintendo Switch. I know the other brand new Neptunia game that is set to release next year as well, it is also going to be making its way onto the Nintendo Switch next year. It is worth noting, though, Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters was originally, I believe, maybe a couple of months ago, also revealed for Xbox Series and Xbox One consoles into 2024. So presumably the Switch version is not going to be the only one getting these new features and new characters, although some of them, according to their wording, they are going to be Switch exclusive. So maybe the Xbox version is just going to be a direct port of the PlayStation version, and the Switch one will be receiving this improved changes. We don't necessarily know as of right now. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys regarding the Neptunia Sister vs. Sisters official Nintendo Switch launch here in the West for 2024. If you're brand new to my channel, though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.